This past week has been a very heavy and sad time for EllisFamLife #autistictwins. And in this video, I'd like to talk about darker and sadder issues, specifically death and dying, loss and fear, unexpected goodbyes. If you're interested in this part of the journey, then come with us and I'll tell you the whole story. Hey EllisFamLifers, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is EllisFamLife #autistictwins. And we like to do three things. We want to raise awareness and acceptance for nonverbal autism, relate to you and the autistic person in your life, and educate by sharing examples and stories of our life with nonverbal autistic twins, Alex and Will. Today's video was not planned, and it's as close to real time as I can get. I'm filming this video 12 hours before I'm posting it. I've not worked up my nerve to do a live video yet, because I'm always worried about the twins in the background. But I know that most of y'all have noticed already that my appearance is different, and I didn't really see the need to put on real makeup. I did pull the hair back, and I pulled the straightener out and fixed it just a little bit in the front, and then just pulled it back in a ponytail so that I wouldn't have to worry about it and it would be out of my face. The Ellis family has gone through a lot this week, and I almost didn't do a video, but there's so many things that I need for y'all to know, and I thought I would just go ahead and talk about it. And I also didn't want to just post the random video that I had gotten ready. And I reached a point where I couldn't work on it anymore because I wasn't there emotionally. So I just put it aside, and I thought I need to tell y'all what's going on, because I don't want to gloss over it and pretend like our life is fine right now when it's not. And my hope is that by next week everything will have calmed down just a little bit and I can focus on that video that I wanted to post, which was Will's oral surgery. And that was a big video, and I've almost finished it, but it's just not time for me to post it right now. And I needed to address the very big monumental things that happened this week in order to show respect to the people that they've happened to, and also to let you in a little bit, let you see what life looks like, and show those people that respect, and also to ask for your prayers, because some of it is ongoing. Anyway, we got back home from Europe. Everything was great, and we settled back into life, getting the boys ready for school every day. There's a whole nother video that I have where we talk about the boys, the first day of school and what school routine looks like, because it's different this year because we're at a different school. I'm filming this on Friday night, and I worked Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night of this past week at one of my hospitals. And when I work 3 nights in a row, it's always more draining. And the third night is usually the worst. And they were extremely busy nights, which is not usually night shift. It kind of calms down a little bit, but this time it didn't. I don't know if that residual weird full moon kept the superstitious going or what, but it was pretty miserable. And then it would settle down kind of towards the end of the night. So I got home on Wednesday morning just in time to put the boys on the bus for school, and they changed their bus time. They were picking them up at 6:45, and now they're picking them up at 6:30, and so I have just enough time to clock out. If I clock out as soon as the next shift shows up and don't dilly-dally, and I clock out immediately and go get in my car and immediately drive, sometimes, most of the time, I can make it before the boys get on the bus. And if I don't, it's okay. Frank is usually there and Frankie's there, but I like to be there too. So I got home in time to help put them on the bus, really just to give them a hug and a kiss before they got on the bus. And then it was time to go to bed, because I usually, if I'm working a night shift, I go to bed immediately. As soon as everybody's settled for the day, I go change my clothes, do all of the necessary bedtime ritual things, and then I go to bed. And so Wednesday afternoon, yes, that is the children screaming in the background. It's just a long story. Wednesday afternoon, I woke up and, 5 million notifications on the phone, and I knew that Frank and Frankie were planning to leave for the weekend, which is a good thing, and go to Houston to go to this conference for Frankie's illness, which is McArdle's, and it is a glycogen storage disease type 5. And so it only happens once a year. This year it's in Houston. They get to meet a particular doctor that specializes in that disorder, and they've never met him before. They get to hear him talk, and most importantly, they get to hang out with people who have Frankie's disease. So he gets to be with his people. And I'm already kind of dreading that, and just dreading them being gone. Amber, get it together. So I was already kind of dreading them being gone, so I was a little bit depressed about it, but I was okay. It's just a weekend. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I have to get my sister to come and watch the boys for me on Saturday because I still need to work, and then I worked it out where I don't have to go in as early on Sunday night. I have a dear friend, coworker who is covering for me, and I'm going to cover for her later in the week. But that's already kind of hanging over my head, that I'm worried about being home with just me and Steven and the boys, and not having the extra set of hands that I usually have, sets of hands. And I woke up Wednesday afternoon and I had a ton of notifications, and one of the notifications was from a lady at our church, and she just said, please pray for the so-and-so family. I don't want to give their identity over the channel, but they lost their son to suicide the night before. Y'all know that is a trigger for me, because my mother committed suicide 2 years ago. And not only that, but we know this family very well. We've known them for 20, 30 years, and nobody deserves to lose their child. And this particular family, of all people, does not deserve it. And it just kills something inside me anytime I hear about someone's suicide, especially with a gun. And it just is breaking my heart to know that this poor family has lost their baby, who is pretty young, still a teenager. So anyway, I woke up to that, and at the same time I'd gotten a message from my dad's wife. My dad is remarried, so my stepmother, who had said, your dad's having some chest pain, and I'm gonna take him to the hospital. And there's a lot of heart disease in our family, and it's genetic, and my dad's had several stents already, so I knew they would probably take him to the cath lab. His cardiac enzymes were elevated, and that's always a sure indication that there's a cardiac event. And he has wonderful doctors. I work with those doctors, and I trust every single one of them, and it's pretty normal for me, kind of like, when we took Will to have his oral surgery, I wasn't afraid. I'm not afraid. Even if Dad has to go to the cath lab, I'm okay. I trust those doctors. I know those nurses. My husband is one of them. He's a cardiac nurse. So my dad is alive, by the way. I haven't lost him yet. Anyway, so the night before, when I was still on my third night shift, it was crazy busy. I'm getting this text from my stepmother saying, your dad's having some chest pain. We're going to go into the hospital. And I knew that meant he's probably going to go to the cath lab. So either that afternoon or the afternoon following, they took him to the cath lab and found several blockages, and they could not fix it in the cath lab. To go to the cath lab for chest pain and to fix cardiac issues with the cath lab is a lot easier. It's not it's not a big surgery, and the doctors will go through a blood vessel in an artery in the groin, in the wrist, and they will inject dye and then use, radiology to see blockages in the heart, and also if there are blockages, they can treat the blockages right then. And I absolutely am okay with this. Dad has been in the cath lab before twice, I think, if not 3 times. He's had blockages opened up and stents placed. They'll place stents. And he came out of the cath lab and they were unable to fix him in the cath lab. So my dad has to have open heart surgery. He's really young. He's only in his early 60s. He's in his early 60s. And I'm thankful because he doesn't have any comorbidities, like he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink alcohol, he's a little bit overweight. We all have like cardiac issues in our family, and my grandfather, his dad, actually lived to 80 with cardiac issues and open heart surgery, and he actually died of colon cancer. So I'm not terribly worried, but it's always open heart surgery is a lot bigger than just the stents and the cath lab. And so I'm not terribly worried because I still have a lot of faith that Dad's got a lot of things going in his favor. He is relatively healthy, other than carrying around a little extra weight. He's relatively healthy. He doesn't have those lifestyle factors that can cause you to have worse problems. He's not diabetic. He doesn't smoke, drink. So it's going to be okay. But at the same time, my dad's still having open heart surgery on Monday. So I ask that y'all would pray for him, that everything will go well. And next week I'll let you know how it went, because by then I'll know. So the last thing, well, let me backtrack for a minute. When we got back from our trip, the night we got back from our trip from Europe, I received a text that I had been kind of expecting of a dear friend who lives in California. And this friend had a very fast growing brain tumor, and she kind of took me under her wing when we moved to California and lived there for 2 years for Frank to get his master's degree. And we were all alone in a foreign land, and this lady just took us under her wing and watched the boys for us, and we hung out and we sang together, and she was just a very dear friend. And she left this earth, and she passed away the day that we got back from our trip. And I knew it was coming. I've been waiting for it, but still dread it. And when you pull up that text, you know some kind soul has let you know that your friend is gone. Too young. She was only in her early 60s. And so it's heartbreaking. But, I know where she is. She's not in pain anymore. It's okay, but it's not okay, but it's okay for now. But her sweet family is dealing with that loss. And it was so fast. It was only a few months. They only had her for a few months before they had to say goodbye. So anyway, lost my friend in California, and then this sweet family lost their son on Tuesday night. We found out Wednesday. And then my dad, with his cardiac event and needing surgery. And then Wednesday afternoon, about the time I was getting the text letting me know that Dad needed open heart, randomly, my uncle, my mother's sister, my mother has one sister, and her name is Connie, Aunt Connie, and she is the last connection to my mother. She's a lot like my mother, And we don't see her very often because she lives about 70 or 80 miles away. We don't see her very often, but if you ever pay attention to my Facebook, the twins' Facebook page, the EllisFamLife #autistictwins, she's usually the first one to hit like when I post the new video or a picture or whatever. And her husband texted us all on Wednesday and said that she had passed away unexpectedly. While I was gone on my trip to Europe, she had to have open heart. She was badly diabetic and had some kidney issues. And once she came through the surgery, she needed to have dialysis. He had texted me while I was on my trip and said, I just had open heart and I'm going to have dialysis. And it was kind of expected because her kidney function had declined so badly. But she's young. She was maybe 64 or 65, still young enough to exist. People exist with dialysis all the time. So I wasn't really expecting, nobody was expecting her to die. And she got home from dialysis and just collapsed. And she didn't wake up. I know they called emergency service and tried to revive her, but she was gone. And it was just a lot this week. And I wish I could have seen her more and talked to her more. And I always looked forward to seeing her on Facebook, even though we couldn't see each other in person. And it breaks my heart for my cousins, who are some of my closest friends. We don't see each other very often. We don't see each other enough, but we grew up together because my mother and my aunt were close when I was a little girl. All of my cousins, we all hung out and we all played together growing up. And I just wanted to show a couple of quick pictures of how I remember my aunt, because that was always our favorite place to go to spend the night and to hang out. And cousins are your first best friends. This post is in memory of my Aunt Connie, who was my closest link to my mother. And now she's gone too. And she's not hurting anymore. But for now, that is today's video. It is. We had a lot going on this week, and my aunt went to heaven, and this sweet boy went to heaven, and my dad's having surgery on Monday. So this is Saturday. So when you see this video by Monday, he's first case. So he'll go first thing in the morning and he'll be out however long it takes to do open heart, probably a few hours. And then he'll be several days in the hospital. So I'll have an update next week when I post my next video. But y'all see why I couldn't go through this week and just blithely post the video about Will going to surgery, because so much happened this week. So many momentous things happened that I felt like I needed to just talk about what happened this week and let you all know that it was a terrible week and life has changed yet again. And it makes me really sad, because so many things happened that they were all really sad things that you just get depressed, and I kind of lost my drive to do anything this week, anything productive, and the things that I could have gotten done, I didn't get the video done, and all of a sudden it wasn't really even important at that moment. I think I have learned in this 40 years of life, and the life that I've lived, and the life experiences, meaning the life experiences, you just have to take it as it comes. You just have to find that balance between, I have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep functioning. I still have to take care of the two. I still have to take care of the children, and I still have to be like present for them. But at the same time, you cut yourself some slack if you're in the middle of a terrible situation where you're just being pummeled by all of these emotional losses. You just have to take a step back and chill for a minute. And so I felt like it was doing a disservice to my aunt and to these other people that I would just post a video and say, and just act like nothing was wrong, because that's not healthy either. So there's a lot wrong this week, and I believe absolutely that it will all be made right, but it's not going to be made right now, and it's going to be a minute before that family sees their son again. And I wish I could take that pain from them. I wouldn't wish it on an enemy, much less a dear friend. And there's just so much broken in this world. And this is a week that we experienced, that the Ellis family experienced, the broken. And not every week will be like this. Of course, not every week will be like this, but this was a pretty broken week, and I wanted to talk about it and do it justice and honor those people that I brought up in this talk, because I want to remember them. I want to remember the people that we lost, and remember my dad. So y'all pray for my dad. Pray for these families that have lost loved ones in this broken world this week, the ones that we talked about, and then pray for my dad on Monday as they go in and fix his heart. And I think that's all I have to share. I just wanted to share all of that, and I wanted to leave y'all with something really sweet. Life gets overwhelming very easily, and you just have to step back, chill for a minute, to quit worrying about anything that's not that important. You just kind of slough all that away, and then you just worry about the most important things. And in the meantime, today, we just kind of took the day off, and we just played with the little boys today. So here's a fun little clip of silliness, and this boy's so happy now that his surgery is over and he's not in pain, and this is just what we see every day. So this boy is all in his long johns because he is into smearing poop right now. He's into smearing poop. Yay! We're saying yay. We're saying yay for long johns. Yay! Yay! Hello. Hooray! Yay! Can I hold you? I love you too. Hey, what are we doing? Is this you? And all in my personal space. This is my boy just in my personal space. You gotta hold on to me. Just gotta hold on to me. 'Cause he loves me. And I love you. Can you say hello? Hello. Watching Thomas today. Thomas! people. You gonna talk a little bit? What else am I talking? Hey people. And you have to find joy in the little things and the things that God has given you, even in the midst of the hard. And you have to cling to the hope that this is not it. It's not over, and this is not the end. Thank you all for watching, and like this video if this touched you in some way, or if you can relate. Tell me your story if you've ever had just a week where everything fell apart and it broke. I'd love to hear the story, and tell me what you find the little moments of joy in. And like this video, share it, comment, ring the bell, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Next week, I promise that it'll get a little bit more upbeat, but I wanted to be real and share the sad parts as well, and especially since I can't drum up a happy right now. It's just not possible, but that's okay too. And one little aside, I think we as Americans try really hard to get rid of pain, and sometimes you can't get rid of pain, and you just have to acknowledge it and let it exist, and not even power through, just sit in the pain for a while. Acknowledge it and let it be there, because it's not going away. And it will lessen with time, with sleep and nutrition and hydration and putting one foot in front of the other to take care of the people who need you and to take care of yourself. It does get better. Tiny, tiny fraction at a time, it gets better. But you just have to acknowledge and exist in the pain sometimes. You can't turn it off. And we try so hard to get rid of it, but sometimes it's not time to get rid of it. I don't know that that's healthy, trying to just get rid of it. You just have to, sometimes you just have to suffer. It's not fun, it's awful, but you just have to do it. And you have to lament and grieve the sad parts. And so that's what we're doing this week, is we're grieving, and we're not gonna try to pretend like everything is great. We're just gonna grieve. So anyway, thank you all for watching and for being on this part of the journey with us, even the not happy times. Say a prayer for my dad as he goes to surgery on Monday morning. And y'all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to next time.